How you doing, everybody? Hello. Welcome to the Postgame show. Welcome to Monster Territory. It has been a rather interesting season. We are now 20 games through, 10-10, a perfect 500. What can you say? But for tonight, once again, we've seen throughout, the first 20 games, we've seen the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And, for tonight, it all kind of just ended up working out for the best. You get the one run. David Hamilton coming through tonight, had an extremely slow start to the year, and he finally came through tonight. But the pitching was the story for tonight. And who would have thought the pitching would be the story and a guy named Garrett Crochet is not on the mound? Sean Newcomb getting the start. Fantastic effort from the pitching staff tonight. Gotta love it. A couple of things with the offense tonight, not very happy with, same sort of frustrations throughout the night that we've seen throughout the year so far, but the pitching coming through in a big way to carry things. We're going to get to the post-game breakdown in just a second. We also got some news on a couple of players down in the minor leagues. We'll get to that. And also, we will be previewing the next series against the White Sox. We do have a day off tomorrow. I think that'll be good for the Red Sox. They've been playing a lot of games lately. I think the day off is going to be very welcome for them. It's going to be a nice thing for them. So coming back home, going to be rested. I'm excited for the White Sox series. But everybody, before I do get started, I'm going to get to tonight's sponsor, and that is Arena Club.
FT fam, if you love ripping packs of cards, there is a modern way to do that now on Arena Club with their slab packs and crats. I know you love ripping slab packs and getting that sweet card that you've always been looking for.
Yeah, and you don't have to go through all the other ones, all the Kratz cards that are in there. Bang, you just get the big one, the one that you're just peeking right around the corner when you open that pack, the one you expect to get.
Also, Arena Club will make you an instant offer for your card based on its market value. You'll get an instant offer of 90% of the estimated value, so you can accept it on the spot, simple, fast, and risk-free. Use that cash to buy more slab packs, and you can get your cards officially graded by Arena Club. So go check it out right now, FT fam. You can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and then use the code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/FOUL, code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase. Get after it, FT fam.
All right, so if you are into the card collecting, Arena Club is where you want to be. Take advantage of that great deal. 20% off. Use the code FOUL. Absolutely take advantage of that. So let's get to it here. Kind of once again, and let's actually kind of look at the series recap. Coming in, all right, you get absolutely blown out in the opener, 16-1. You're thinking, the world is crashing down on the Red Sox, and here you are walking away with a series win. It's kind of funny how that works out. That's baseball for you. You could have an incredibly tough loss like they did in the opener, but then you bounce back in the next couple, and then you end up winning the series. So that's baseball for you. Isn't that funny how it works out? So, but again, great series win for the Red Sox, especially after dropping an in-division series to the Blue Jays. I felt like this was, and especially after losing to the White Sox as well, but also more so because you just dropped a series to the Blue Jays, who are looking pretty decent so far. The entire AL East at this point, there's been a lot of ups and downs in the AL East up to this point. So nice for the Red Sox to win a series against an in-division rival, especially the freaking Rays. Oh my goodness, the Rays have given me so many headaches, given so many Red Sox fans headaches over the years. It is just, my goodness. The Rays drive me insane. But let's get to it here. Let's get to the pitching breakdown. That was the story for tonight. And, once again, no Garrett Crochet, no Walker Buehler, none of these guys. It was Sean freaking Newcomb coming through. Nothing crazy from Newcomb tonight. Overall, 4 2/3, 4 hits, 0 earned, 4 Ks on the night. Really just working in and out of the zone. I was a little afraid coming into this because how good the Rays offense looked in game 1, and Sean Newcomb not looking all that great back in Chicago. So I'm thinking, this might, it's kind of funny how that works out too, right? The guy that you're expecting, to just get the crap beaten out of him And he ends up just coming through in a big way. But really for Sean Newcomb tonight, like I said, just working in and out of the zone, just kind of, working really with the fastball and the cutter for the most part. He was getting a couple of ground balls, a couple of fly balls, letting the defense work behind him. He got a double play in the third inning. Every time he's made a start, this guy just seems to come through with a double play to slow down the momentum. And I wanted to pull up one thing here. Like I said, if you're with me live, you can see on my screen, he threw 39 pitches in the zone tonight, 32 out of the zone. So I like that he was mixing and matching, trying to keep the Rays guessing, keeping them on their toes, and just got as far as he could. Got into the fifth inning. You couldn't ask more for Sean Newcomb, who got hit very hard against the White Sox the last time out. And taking one look here, one more I guess I can't find it. I've lost track. But Newcomb coming through in a big way. But the bullpen, oh my goodness, this bullpen tonight, fantastic. Greg Weisser, when this guy is on, this guy is as nasty as they can be, man. He's already hard to pick up, but when he's got his stuff working, he is very good in middle relief. Came through in a big way tonight, continuing what Sean Newcomb started, but loved what Garrett Whitlock did tonight. He just looked nasty. It's kind of funny with Whitlock. There's been a couple of times this year where you can just see it's either he's really got it or he is just fighting out there, right? When Whitlock has it, when he's on, I feel like this guy's unhittable. He did give up a hit tonight, but my goodness, 4 Ks tonight. He was getting a lot of swing and miss. He just looked nasty. Leading with the changeup, working in the sinkers, getting the sliders, really a good mix between the three there, getting a good amount of whiffs, and then Justin Slayton coming in to close it out. This guy was nasty with the curveball, getting a couple of strikeouts on the curveball tonight. But really, with what I loved about having Whitlock pitch a couple of innings, because you've had Chapman pitch quite a few times over the last few games. I was kind of wondering what they were going to do. Were they going to go with Whitlock for the 2 innings? Were they just going to go to Slayton and then go to Chapman one more time? I was thinking in my head, it was going to be Whitlock for a couple. This is your multi-inning kind of a guy. I saw a couple of people on Twitter saying, no, it's okay if Whitlock throws an inning. He doesn't always have to be this multi-inning guy. But that is where he is at his best, and that's where his true value is, where, again, there was the talk of him, being a starter for how long for the last several years, and obviously wasn't able to stay healthy. But, with Whitlock, this is a guy who's got some very good stuff. And if he can get you through 2-3 innings, I mean, that is very valuable. And he has the ability to do that. And he's shown that time and time again, going back to 2021. And he's shown that so far this year. Like I said, Justin Slayton closing it out. Gotta love that. Just a fantastic night for the pitching staff. Overall, the Rays couldn't really get anything going. It was a nail biter. I see you in the chat. Who was the one that said nail biter? Jonathan, how you doing, my friend? Nail biter, absolutely. When it came to really the offense for tonight, let's actually pull up here. Let's get back to the main screen. And David Hamilton, he was the star of the show. David Hamilton coming into the night, hitting .048 with a negative 69 WRC plus. This is a guy that was very productive last year. Coming through in the clutch, coming up with some good offense, stealing bases as well. He was giving you pretty decent defense at second base, not shortstop very much, but a guy that was, very productive, in the role he was in. But he just hasn't really shown that up to this point. But getting into one, just clearing the fence tonight, just getting the home run, and that was all they needed. This pitching staff was absolutely incredible. The offense. There were moments throughout the night where, once again, you've seen this with the offense this year, where you feel like they're close and they're going to break through, and they just end up leaving runners in scoring position. They kind of, they shoot themselves in the foot a lot. You had go back earlier in the game. Trevor Story got the walk. Romy had the 1-out ground out. He had the 1-out ground rule double. Unfortunately, ended up being a ground rule double. You probably would have had Trevor Story score on that, but because the ground rule double, they had to hold it second and third. And then, Tristan Casas got the intentional walk. You had the bases loaded at that point, but then Narvaez popping out. Hamilton, unfortunately, he can't do it all getting the ground out. And then go to the 5th inning. I was having a couple of back and forths on Twitter land about this one. Jarren Duran, he got the double in the 5th inning, and then he ended up trying to steal 3rd with 1 out. I understood it. I got it because you have 1 out. You got Raffy up. Yeah, fly ball makes it a 2-0 game. I totally understand that. This is my own personal opinion. When you got your best hitter at the plate in Raffy, right? Obviously, we know he had the slow start, but he's back to being Raffy. You got your best hitter up at the plate. Jarren Duran, he's got the wheels. If a ball is going into the outfield, if it drops down for a base hit, he's probably scoring from second base. So I wasn't a huge fan of him trying to steal 3rd. I understand it because, it felt like runs were pretty tough to come by, which is hilarious considering, just the offense in the last couple of days. You've been seeing a lot of runs, but tonight it was a different story. So it felt like Cora was really just trying to push the envelope, get a bit aggressive. Again, I understood the move. I get it because it puts a runner at third base, for a possible, sac fly or, ground ball to the right side. Duran scores. I don't know, man. I just don't like it. For me personally, I just think if you have a runner in scoring position and you got your best hitter up, I kind of want to leave it at that. But I understand the other side of it too. I definitely see both sides. For me personally, I think it's like a chocolate vanilla kind of a thing. I wasn't a fan of it, to be honest. And then it ended up being Raffy got the base hit, and that would have scored Duran. But then again, I could also see where, it's a hindsight kind of a thing, right? If Duran ends up stealing 3rd, you get the sac fly, then ends up being a genius move. And then obviously if it doesn't work out, then it kind of looks like one of those moves where you're like, what the heck are you doing? To be honest, even if Duran had stolen 3rd, I still would have been like, oh, okay, a little risky. I'm cool with it. But, I don't know if I would have done it personally. That was just my thought. Again, I know a lot of people could disagree. Moving on. 6th inning, Willie Abreu had the leadoff double, not able to come through. Romy with a K. Casas tonight, another night where a couple of hard hit balls, 97.4 miles an hour on one of the flyouts, just a tick under 100 miles per hour, 99.9 miles per hour on another flyout. So Casas, man, I feel like he's getting close. He's really, when he's making contact, it's loud. It's just, I feel like it felt like he just missed one tonight also. I'm feeling like he's close, but you had Casas with the flyout, Narvaez with the strikeout. So that was that for the 6th inning. So you had your moments tonight, just not able to break through. So again, getting back to the Duran stolen, or getting thrown out, I get it because, when it's one of those nights, you're just trying to make something happen. Luckily, it didn't come back to bite them in the end. So it is what it is. Personally, I wouldn't have done it though. But hey, great win for tonight. A great series win. I felt like you needed that after. You couldn't have another series loss, going into a day off, going back to Fenway. You needed this one tonight. You get back to, hope. This was something that we saw a lot last year with the Red Sox at 500. Let's see if we can just start putting together some wins now, and let's get away from the whole being at 500 thing. So also, I'm sorry, my camera, it keeps auto-focusing. I don't know why it is doing that. So I tried adjusting a couple of the settings on the camera to try and get a bit of a better picture, but I think I need to go fix the what do you call it? The focus on there. So sorry about that. Taking a look here. Let's take a look at, you know what? Let's actually go to a little bit of news here. Let's go down to the minor leagues before we go to the series preview against the White Sox. So Brian Bayo did have his final rehab start tonight. 4 1/3, 6 hits, 4 earned, 1 walk, 7 Ks overall. Now you're probably looking at the 4 earned runs and you're thinking, oh, 6 hits, 4 earned. What are we doing here? This is his spring training. Basically, I know Tanner Houck was kind of iffy during spring training, and obviously he did not do well the other night, but it can be different from picture to picture, right? Sometimes these guys aren't looking good in spring. They come back and they end up being fine. I'm okay with Brian Bayo, whatever, giving up a few runs over his few rehab starts. I'm okay with that. Not necessarily the worst thing in the world. He was throwing a lot of strikes tonight, so that was good to see that the command was in check. He threw 51 of 71 pitches for strikes. Thank you to Boston Sports Gordo for putting the stat line, making it easily accessible for me tonight. I do appreciate that. Go follow the guys over at Play Tessie. They got a good podcast over there. But we got a little something here from Roman Anthony. Not news necessarily, but I kind of wanted to just share, what we're seeing in the minor leagues from Roman Anthony right now. I mean, this guy is looking great. Now, a lot of people have been speculating about Roman, maybe getting the call. That's not coming from anywhere, by the way. Just a lot of talk on Twitter land. And because he has been hitting very well. Coming into tonight, 5 games with a base hit. He's on a 5-game hitting streak. This guy's looking fantastic. I mean, just the hard hit balls are insane. The expected numbers are off the charts. Now, when it comes to Roman Anthony, there have been a few strikeouts, a little more than I'd like to see. There has been I'd like to see a bit more contact in the zone. But the guy's getting on base at an incredible rate. Through 46 ABs, he's got a 441 on base, a 941 OPS overall, a couple of homers, 7 RBIs in the early going. There is a day off tomorrow. Usually when it comes to calling guys up, the off day tends to be that day, right? I don't think Roman Anthony's going to get called up. I mean, you never know, all right? You never say never. Maybe it could happen. I don't know. I just have this feeling. I go back to Jacoby Ellsbury. He wasn't called up for a little while back in 2007. They waited for the Coco Crisp injury and then they called him up then. I kind of see something similar where, it's because at this, what are you doing with Seti? Obviously, I don't think you're taking Willier out of this lineup. Obviously, he's been very good this year so far. But I think with Roman, it's kind of like you got to make some kind of a corresponding move. And I feel like right now there's not really that obvious move. I've been seeing a lot more people leaning towards moving Seti into a utility role. I think that's kind of the way I would go right now, but I feel like you don't need to rush it. I feel like you wait a little longer. You give him a few more weeks down in the minor leagues. You don't need to rush this right now, in my opinion. Now, personally, I got my eye on an off day in the beginning of June. I think it's June 5th. You got an off day. You got the Yankees in the Bronx for a series after that off day. I mean, how cool would that be? Roman Anthony making his debut in Yankee Stadium, hitting a homer in his debut series against the Yankees in the Bronx. I mean, what kind of that would be an amazing debut if you ask me. Sounds like cinema if you ask me. But I understand a lot of people would like to see him sooner rather than later. My guess is the Red Sox I don't know. I just, the way they've gone about calling guys up in the past, they tend to be a bit more patient with these kind of moves. I feel like they're going to take their time with this one. I would not expect Roman to get called up tomorrow, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anyone saying anything. I don't think it's going to happen. I just saw a lot of people talking about it on Twitter today. So for me personally, I want to kind of put a damper on those expectations for the off day tomorrow. So who knows, though? Maybe we see it. If it does happen, hey, you're not going to see me upset about it. But Brian Bayo, I would expect Bayo to be back in the rotation for his next start early next week. Excited about that. But speaking of that, let's get to the series preview. Let's get to the series preview, shall we? And we got the White Sox yet again, but this time at Fenway Park. Martin Perez, hey, this guy was holding his own against the Red Sox the last time out. You got Shane Smith back on the mound. Remember, he was looking pretty good. You got Shane Smith, Garrett Crochet in a rematch. And then Tanner Houck getting another, he's not going to have to go up against the Rays this time. Let's see if he can have a bounce-back performance against the White Sox, against Sean Burke, who has an ERA at 7.56. So that could be a good chance for Houck to, try and right the ship a little bit. There is not a starter announced as of right now, unless someone has said something on Twitter. I haven't seen the latest on that. Again, someone could have announced it. We will see. I don't know. I'm not seeing anything popping off on my feed right away. So, if anyone has seen anything, then, you saw it before I did. So, but again, no starter announced for tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. With Fitz out, could you call upon Hunter Dobbins, or could you go to a bullpen game? You did just use, a few guys here tonight. So I wonder if Hunter Dobbins could be the guy that maybe they call up. We'll see. I don't know. But tomorrow you got the off day. Or what you could do is, I think Garrett Crochet is going to be on normal rest for the first game. So that's a possibility where they can just have him go for the opener. And then Tanner Houck, you have him go for game 2. So I believe that's how it's working out. So let me do my math in my head just to make sure. So Friday, the opener is April 18th. Yeah, so his last start was the 13th. So that would be regular rest for Crochet. So wouldn't be surprised to see the Red Sox do that. Or do they just want to, keep his normal turn in the rotation? We'll have to see. But pay attention tomorrow, the off day. That's where, usually these moves get announced and whatnot. So we will see on that. And then, also, it is a 4-game series, by the way. So Walker Buehler is going to be getting at least the way it's lined up right now, Buehler would be getting the nod for the Monday finale, which is it's the annual Patriots Day game, the 11:10 a.m. starting time. Very excited about that. Always love that 11 a.m. game. It's always, it's just, I don't know why. I always find it pretty cool. So, but everybody, let's get to the end of the show here. But usually what we do at the end of every series, I take a look at some of the series reactions and thoughts. So I got 29 comments here. My goodness, you guys, you showed up for the reactions here tonight. What do we got here? I'll go through a few. We got Red Sox Royal Rooter. How you doing, my friend? Let's see what you got to say. Newcomb was great despite not going super long. Bullpen was just pure filth. Felt like it didn't matter who came out. They'd get it done. Haven't felt that good about the Red Sox pitching in a long time. We needed that series win after the past little stretch of games. Completely agree. Also, hey, kudos to Alex Cora here tonight. Pushing the right buttons, bringing in the right guys. Good bullpen management for Alex Cora here tonight. Let's take a look here. Michael Morgan, how you doing, my friend? Bats still haven't waken up like they should, but rather be cold early than late. It will come together soon. Love what I'm seeing from the bullpen. Can't remember being that comfortable in a 1-0 Sox lead for multiple innings. Yeah, I agree with you. It was like this weird sort of comfort thing about it. Like, even though they were up 1-0, I still felt okay. Like, I felt like I wasn't, hanging on to the edge of my seat the entire time, because this bullpen has been very good. One of the best bullpens in Major League Baseball up to this point. So I'm right there with you, my friend. Right there with you. I think that was a good way to describe it. What do we got? Let's go. Alex Bregman Enjoyer account. Let's see what you got to say. The first game was ugly. Yes, it was. And unfortunately, I was at that game. Of course, the one game that I go to, they got absolutely shellacked. But games like that happen, and it didn't help that it was immediately after losing the series to the White Sox. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things, right? Timing-wise, it's like, good grief. Well, we'll have Bregman and Bayo back in the next couple of days. I forgot to mention that. Bregman, not with the team for the birth of his child. Congratulations to Alex Bregman. That's very, very good. I always love hearing the, the personal stuff off the field, right? The good news, right? Good for Alex Bregman. Congrats on that. The East is up for grabs, and it's still only April. The team can only get better. And it's kind of weird, man. It's pretty crazy when I look at the reactions and whatnot, through the Red Sox community, you would almost think it's like July at this point. I love the passion of the Red Sox fans up to this point. We're 20 games in, and it already feels like, you're in the second half of the season already. Love to see that. What do we got? Let's get a couple of more. Let's see. What do we got? Let's get a couple more. Here we go. We got from, let's see here. Slayton has the potential to be the best Sox closer since Papelbon. Steinbrenner Field needs to be destroyed. Rob Cass's story and Devers of at least 7 doubles. And that was the thought coming in to playing at Steinbrenner Field. It's been a little wacky. Feels like some balls are just leaving the yard like it's nothing, and then some of them are just getting blown down, It's really, it's a spring training complex. It's a minor league complex at the end of the day. I've always been one of those people where I kind of like Tropicana, to be honest. In Florida, listen, I like the AC. I'm a pale man. I like to be out of the sun as much as possible. So I'm one of the few that likes Tropicana Field, mainly because of the air conditioning. I like being outside for baseball games too. I understand that's how you got to watch baseball, but to me, Tropicana, it's kind of a nice change of pace just because of the AC. Florida's just so freaking hot all the time. I'm just saying. Let's do a couple more here. What do we got? Yeah, Pats for life. I was just very surprised how much the ball was dying at the track. Like I said, Casas had a couple of very hard hit balls tonight. I thought one of them was going to leave. And like you said, they just die. What do we got? I'm seeing a lot of comments here in this thread about the bullpen. That really is the story of the night. Not just the bullpen, just the entire pitching staff tonight. Did a great job. What do we got here? Deal core. One more thing on the bullpen. Let's share this one. Weissert was filthy. Whitlock was filthier. And Slayton was absolutely disgusting. Is the pen better than I thought? Maybe all we really need is a solid Hendricks. It's funny. Coming into the year, it's kind of like last year, right? You weren't sure about the rotation. You weren't sure how the starting pitching was going to be. And then it ended up, at least, for the most part in the first half, and the second half, it wasn't as great. But the starting pitching was looking very good. And the bullpen coming into this year, that was a bit of a concern for some people. And this bullpen has been just freaking nails so far this year. Let's actually go to the Fangraphs rankings here. And let's see where they rank in Fangraph wins above replacement. Right now, coming into tonight, the Red Sox bullpen in Fangraph WAR is number 1 overall, and they just solidified their number 1 spot. The ERA coming into tonight for the bullpen was a 4.21. That is going to get lowered, so you're probably thinking, well, Robbie, how the heck are they ranking number 1 in wins above replacement with an ERA over a 4? Well, it's because of the FIP, a 2.92 on the FIP. They're doing a great job at keeping the balls in the yard. 0.53 home runs per 9 coming into tonight. The bullpen has done a sensational job at keeping the ball in the yard. Do want to see some more strikeouts, though. Just under 8.5 strikeouts per 9 from the bullpen. But when you got Slayton looking nasty like that tonight, let's see if he keeps building that momentum. When you got Whitlock just looking nasty, these guys can strike out hitters. It's just a matter of let's get the consistency going a little bit. So, number 1 bullpen in Major League Baseball, according to Fangraphs. But everybody, I'm out of here for tonight. I do want to thank you so much. Also, if you can, hit that like button for us on the way out. See a lot of you in the chat here. Let's actually see what you got. Nick, isn't Dobbins pitching? So, again, I haven't seen the announcement. I don't know. I'm not on Twitter right now. I'm doing the live stream, obviously. So, I haven't seen anything. Some people were speculating that Dobbins could be the guy. If you call up Dobbins, though, and then you send him back down, that's going to use another option. So do they want to do that? That's something I think is fair to consider. Or do they just kind of move guys up a little bit, have Crochet go for the opener, or go with the bullpen game, right? You got tomorrow off, so guys are going to be rested. So there's a few ways they could go. Josh, Red Sox really turned it around after Robbie left. Coincidence? I think not. Well, gee willikers, I freaking stink. I'm not going to a game ever again. It seems like every time I go to a game, they freaking lose, especially because it's the Rays. They always lose to the freaking Rays. I hate everything. What else we got here? Ian, he just might be the best hitter on oh, I see what you're saying. Ian, he just might be the best hitter on the Red Sox, and he's with the Woo Sox. You're talking about Roman Anthony. I mean, Roman's doing he's looking great, right? I do think the Red Sox, again, I'll touch on that point one more time. I think they would probably like to see a bit more of the zone contact cleaned up a little bit. It's not bad necessarily, but I wonder if maybe they would like to see a little bit more out of that. Again, I know they're 10-10 right now. I understand the premise for calling them up. I get that, right? You want the best players on the team, but you also have to think about the development too. Do you want to have him work on, fine-tune a couple of things at AAA? Matt Shaw for the Cubs, right? Highly touted prospect. I'm a big Matt Shaw guy. I was kind of hoping the Red Sox were going to draft him a couple of years ago. I was definitely on the Matt Shaw train there. And he just got sent down, right? This is a guy that was, looking primed to be a Rookie of the Year candidate for the Cubs, and he just got sent back down. So, it's kind of one of those things where there's a big difference between AAA and Major League Baseball. I think Roman's going to end up being a great player, but I'd rather him work on those things, right? Little things. Cut down on the strikeouts a little bit. Make a bit more contact in the zone. When he is making contact in the zone, he's hitting the absolute crap out of the ball. But it's kind of fine-tuning those things. Again, if they end up calling him up at some point in the next couple of weeks, I'm not going to be upset about it. I would absolutely love to see Roman Anthony up in the bigs. So we'll see how that goes. Zachary Sanders, nothing has been posted yet on the starter for the opener. So we'll keep an eye on that. Again, one more time. You could just go, the rotation, just, Crochet go to the opener, and he'll be on a normal 5 days rest. Could just go with a bullpen game. I also wonder, would they want Crochet to maybe have another day of rest? I know they said they're just going to let him go this year, but I don't know. Maybe I wonder what the Red Sox thinking is with that. Would they rather him have an extra day? You go back to Alex Cora. You remember he was throwing the no-hitter. Alex Cora said after the game that he was kind of just glad the no-hitter was done, right? He was almost like relieved and happy it got broken up because his pitch count was starting to get up there near 100 pitches. So kind of makes me wonder. I wonder if they would like for him to have another day. We'll see. Josh in the chat, before you head out, check out the Bellinger catch to end the game. Well, on that note, I'm going to end the show. We're going to end the show right there. Everybody, thank you for coming out for the post game tonight. Really do appreciate that. If you can on the way out, hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 4K by the All-Star break. I would greatly appreciate that. If you are listening to us in audio format, whether that's on Apple, Spotify, whatever it may be, leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us out. Don't forget tonight's sponsor, Arena Club. Go check them out. Everybody, good series win. We needed that one here tonight. Go enjoy the rest of your... Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday, right? Go enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. If you are listening to me tomorrow, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Enjoy the off day. We've been playing a lot of baseball games. Well, we haven't, but we've been watching a lot of baseball games lately. So let's enjoy the day off. So everybody, I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll talk to you next time.